Hey guys, Jordan here, back with another Battlefield 3 rant. But before I do that, I'd like to first address something that came up in one of the comments on my previous videos. In my last video about the recon class, one of the clips that I used showed me unlocking a scope for an early sniper weapon. And someone on Reddit took exception to that and said that since I'm not that far into the unlocks for sniping, my advice is somehow invalid. Now look, like I've said before, I have not and will not ever claim that I am an elite Battlefield 3 player. I'm not sitting here giving away well-kept secret techniques from the uber player tier. What I'm doing here is more cathartic than educational, really, and that I'm more just yelling about all the simple, obvious mistakes that new players make that piss everyone off. It's like a stand-up comic making observational humor out of everyday problems that people can relate to, except that I'm not standing up and my observations are specifically about Battlefield 3. Basically, I'm saying I don't need to be a wine connoisseur to know that Busch Light tastes like shit, just like I don't need to be an elite Battlefield 3 player to know that not using your recon equipment correctly makes you a bad recon. So with that out of the way, let me tell you a story. It's a story about one of your teammates. He's most likely a recon, but I've seen this guy be any one of the classes. This man is the epitome of everything I hate about idiots in Battlefield 3. If I had the magical ability to get rid of one type of asshole in BF3, I believe this guy would get rid of the most headaches for everyone. That's right, I'm talking about Mr. Giovanni, or Mr. gets in a vehicle and drives away before anyone else can get in. My God, does this ever piss me off, and if you don't agree, then you are this guy, and if that's the case, do me a favor and punch yourself in the nuts. I can't be there to do it myself, so I'm gonna have to put you on the honor system. You know you deserve it. I'm trusting you to do the right thing. Now, to be clear, I know that some empty vehicle situations are going to occur in the middle of and late in games when vehicles respawn at the deployment and not many people notice they're there. And that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is when there's clearly a group of people running towards a vehicle and the driver takes off before anyone else in that group can get there to fill the seats. If this has never happened to you, consider yourself extremely lucky because it seems to happen to me about once every other game. See, if you didn't happen to notice, Battlefield 3 is a team effort more so than some other military shooters that get compared to Battlefield incessantly, even though they are very different, as I pointed out before. I'm talking, of course, about Medal of Honor. Just kidding, who talks about Medal of Honor? But seriously, you're in a squad, you get bonus points for helping your teammates, and working together is the name of the game. Well, the name is Battlefield 3, but you know what I mean. You are not a lone wolf here, and you should always be trying to think of the best way to help your team out at any given fork in the road. So imagine the frustration when there's a deployment full of soldiers running towards a chopper or a tank, and the first person there hops in and drives off with nothing but empty air manning the other gunner seats. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? You could be an unstoppable force of death and annihilation, mowing down enemy infantry and giving hell to enemy vehicles, but instead you've practically turned that tank or helo into a giant Honda Civic, just getting you from point A to point B. I mean, for fuck's sake, I tried to come up with a metaphor to compare this grave act of ineptitude to something in real life that made it more understandable, but the only thing serious enough to come up with was, you're like a guy in the military jumping in a tank and driving away with no one manning the guns. It just doesn't get any stupider than that. There is literally zero advantage to doing this. I don't understand it. And if you come to me with the argument that it gets you to the objective faster, then I'll come back to you with, why haven't you punched yourself in the nuts yet? Now yes, it is true that not waiting for your teammates to get in saves you a mighty 6 whole seconds to getting to the objective. But you know what happens when you get there? You attack the objective for those 6 seconds before you realize you're the only one there because you took the fucking tank by yourself, and you get your ass handed to you by a team who understands the game and loaded their tank up with people before they left the fucking deployment. So with that argument totally busted, what's left for the reasons that one takes an empty tank into battle? Oh yeah, because you're fucking stupid is all that's left. And let me tell you, if this guy wasn't bad enough, there is a sub-breed of fuckwad that comes out of the Giovanni players, and it's even worse than they are. I'm referring to, of course, the Ratathapi homofescus at Bowpiece, or recon asshole that acquires the helicopter and flies it hundreds of meters away from everything to get a sniper spot and then bails out with passengers inside. See, now we've taken all the horrible, shitty things that the first guy did and then mixed in team killing. I hope you can see why I hate these guys. In fact, allow me to splice in a clip from my latest live-action movie here, so that I can give you an example of what I would do to one of these guys if I ever met them in real life. So yeah, you could say I'm not fond of them. Well, that about does it for this particular rant. Thanks for watching, and please, if you're gonna drive the vehicles in Battlefield 3, wait for some passengers, don't bail out and kill your teammates, and don't be a noob.